The final battle was never just about saving the world. It was about Ryan choosing who he truly is. The moment Homelander looked into Ryan's eyes during episode 8, everything changed. You could feel the fear, the anger, and the emotional pain building between them. Butcher was ready to sacrifice everything. Homelander was losing control faster than ever, and Ryan stood directly in the middle of the most dangerous fight the world had ever seen. The ending of The Boys Season 5 did not feel like a normal superhero finale. It felt personal, emotional, and completely brutal. Every scene carried tension, every conversation felt important, and by the final minutes, it became clear that nobody would leave this battle unchanged forever. Episode 8 begins with pure chaos spreading across the city. People are terrified, buildings are damaged, emergency alarms are sounding everywhere, and nobody feels safe anymore. The world has finally started seeing Homelander for what he truly is, and that pressure is pushing him closer to complete madness. One of the strongest parts of this episode is how quiet Homelander becomes during certain scenes. Instead of screaming or threatening people immediately, he sometimes speaks softly, almost calmly, and that actually makes him feel even more dangerous. The fear around him is no longer just about power, it is about unpredictability. Nobody knows what he will do next, not even the people closest to him. The episode uses this tension perfectly by showing characters constantly nervous whenever Homelander appears nearby. At the same time, Butcher's condition keeps getting worse. You can see it clearly in his face and body language. He looks exhausted, angry, and emotionally broken, but he still refuses to stop moving forward. What makes Butcher so powerful in this episode is not his strength, it is his determination. He already knows there is a strong chance he will not survive this final mission, but he no longer cares about saving himself. His only focus now is stopping Homelander and protecting Ryan before everything collapses completely. One emotional scene shows Butcher sitting quietly for a moment, almost like he is remembering every painful mistake he made throughout his life. That scene feels important because it reminds viewers that beneath all his anger, Butcher is still carrying guilt and regret. Ryan becomes the emotional center of the entire episode. Every major conflict connects back to him in some way. He is trapped between two father figures who both want control over his future, but neither relationship feels truly healthy anymore. Homelander wants Ryan to become powerful and feared, while Butcher wants to stop Ryan from turning into another version of Homelander. The problem is that Ryan himself no longer knows who to trust. Throughout the episode, his expressions constantly change between confusion, sadness, anger, and fear. One moment he looks emotionally close to Homelander, and seconds later, he seems terrified by him. That emotional conflict becomes one of the strongest parts of the finale because viewers understand Ryan is not simply choosing sides in a fight. He is deciding what kind of person he wants to become forever. The episode also does an amazing job showing how emotionally unstable Homelander has become. He is no longer acting like someone fully in control of himself. Small things begin triggering his anger very quickly, especially whenever he feels rejected or challenged. One scene especially stands out where Homelander realizes people around him are beginning to fear him instead of worship him. The pain in his expression feels real for a brief second before it quickly transforms into rage. That emotional switch is what makes him terrifying. He desperately wants love and loyalty, but the second he does not receive it, his anger explodes dangerously. Episode 8 makes it very clear that Homelander's biggest weakness has always been emotional instability, not physical strength. Another important part of the finale is how divided the boys become before the final battle even begins. Some characters want revenge, others want survival, and some are simply exhausted after years of violence and loss. The emotional damage inside the group feels heavier than ever before. Trust becomes fragile, conversations become tense, and everybody understands that this mission may end with multiple deaths. One powerful moment shows the group silently preparing themselves before the attack, and the atmosphere feels heartbreaking because nobody says what they are truly thinking. Deep down, they already know some of them may never return. The episode also uses silence very effectively. Instead of non-stop action, many scenes slow down emotionally before the violence begins. Characters stare at each other without speaking, difficult emotions stay hidden beneath facial expressions, and the tension grows stronger with every passing minute. This makes the final battle feel much more personal, because viewers are emotionally connected to the pain behind the conflict. The story is not simply showing heroes fighting a villain, it is showing broken people making desperate choices while trying to survive emotionally and physically at the same time. As the episode moves closer toward the final confrontation, the atmosphere becomes darker and more intense. The lighting changes, the music becomes heavier, and every scene starts feeling emotionally dangerous. Ryan's fear becomes more visible, Butcher's desperation grows stronger, and Homelander begins losing the little emotional control he still had left. One scene even shows Homelander staring silently at Ryan for several seconds without speaking, and that moment alone feels more uncomfortable than many action scenes in the entire series. You can feel the emotional pressure building inside both characters. Ryan wants guidance, but both men standing in front of him are emotionally damaged in completely different ways. By the final minutes leading into the battle, the tension becomes almost unbearable. Buildings shake, panic spreads across the city, and every character understands that the world may never recover from what is about to happen next. But the most important part of Episode 8 is not the destruction. It is the emotional tragedy behind the fight. Homelander believes Ryan belongs with him, Butcher believes Ryan must be saved from him, and Ryan himself is terrified that no matter what choice he makes, someone he cares about will be destroyed forever. The final battle itself feels less like a superhero fight and more like an emotional war between three broken people. Episode 8 slowly builds toward this moment from the very beginning, and once the confrontation finally starts, every second feels heavy. Nobody enters this fight peacefully. Everybody is carrying anger, pain, regret, and fear. The city around them already looks destroyed emotionally before the real damage even begins physically. Smoke fills the streets, people are running everywhere, emergency sirens echo in the background, and the entire atmosphere feels like the world is collapsing in real time. But inside all this chaos, the real focus remains on Ryan, Butcher, and Homelander standing face to face while years of emotional trauma explode between them. Homelander enters the battle already emotionally unstable. That is what makes him so terrifying in Episode 8. He is no longer fighting only to win. He is fighting because he feels betrayed, abandoned, and emotionally cornered. One of the strongest parts of the episode is how his emotions keep changing every few seconds. Sometimes he sounds calm and almost emotional while speaking to Ryan, but seconds later, rage completely takes over him. That emotional instability creates constant tension because nobody knows when he will explode again. The episode makes it clear that Homelander truly believes Ryan belongs with him, and losing Ryan emotionally hurts him more than any physical attack ever could. That emotional obsession becomes the center of the final battle. Ryan's emotional conflict becomes even more painful during these scenes. He is terrified, confused, and emotionally exhausted. Every time he looks at Butcher, you can see guilt in his face because he knows Butcher sacrificed so much trying to protect him. But every time he looks at Homelander, there is also emotional pain because despite everything, Homelander is still his father. The show handles this conflict very carefully because Ryan is not simply choosing between good and evil. He is choosing between two damaged people who both shaped his life in different ways. One powerful moment shows Ryan standing completely frozen while Butcher and Homelander scream at each other nearby. Instead of looking angry, Ryan looks emotionally destroyed. That scene perfectly shows how trapped he feels inside the situation. Butcher enters the fight knowing he may die. That changes the entire energy of his character. He no longer fights like someone trying to survive. He fights like someone trying to finish one final mission before time runs out completely. His body already looks weak from everything he has suffered, but emotionally, he refuses to give up. One thing Episode 8 does perfectly is showing how much emotional pain Butcher hides behind his anger. He acts aggressive constantly, but underneath that rage is guilt, fear, and regret. During the battle, there are moments where he looks at Ryan almost like a father protecting his child. Those emotional details make the fight much more powerful because viewers understand Butcher is not fighting only for revenge anymore. He is fighting to stop Ryan from becoming another Homelander. The destruction during the battle feels massive. Buildings crack apart, explosions light up the city, and people everywhere are terrified. But what makes the action scenes powerful is how emotional they feel. Every attack carries emotional meaning behind it. When Homelander attacks Butcher, it feels personal. When Butcher fights back, it feels fueled by years of hatred and loss. And whenever Ryan steps between them, the emotional tension becomes even stronger. One scene especially stands out where Ryan tries screaming for both of them to stop, but neither man listens anymore. That moment becomes heartbreaking because it shows Ryan realizing that both men are so consumed by pain and anger that they can no longer see the damage happening around them. Another important detail in episode 8 is how isolated Homelander becomes emotionally during the final fight. Even with all his power, he looks completely alone. Nobody truly supports him anymore. Nobody trusts him fully. And deep down, he understands that. There is one quiet moment during the battle where Homelander briefly looks hurt instead of angry, almost like he realizes he already lost Ryan emotionally before the fight even started. But instead of accepting that pain, he transforms it into more rage. That emotional weakness continues making him even more dangerous, because every emotional rejection pushes him closer toward total destruction. The episode also gives Ryan several moments where viewers can see his fear of becoming like Homelander. During the battle, his powers begin reacting emotionally, especially when he feels angry or scared. Those scenes feel extremely important because they show Ryan starting to understand how dangerous his own emotions can become. One moment even suggests that Ryan himself may become strong enough to stop either man if pushed far enough emotionally. The fear inside Ryan's eyes during these scenes tells viewers everything. He is not only afraid of Homelander anymore, he is afraid of himself too. As the fight continues, the emotional damage becomes even stronger than the physical destruction. Butcher's anger starts turning into desperation, Homelander's rage becomes more unstable, and Ryan begins emotionally breaking down completely. The episode slows down several moments intentionally so viewers can feel the emotional weight behind every decision. Characters stop talking for seconds at a time, simply staring at each other while emotions build silently. Those quiet moments become just as intense as the action scenes because viewers understand the emotional pain underneath them. By the ending of the confrontation, the atmosphere feels emotionally empty and exhausted. The city is damaged, relationships are shattered, and the emotional consequences of the battle feel permanent. But the most important part is how episode 8 changes Ryan forever. Before this fight, Ryan still had innocence left inside him. After everything he sees between Butcher and Homelander, that innocence begins disappearing completely. And that may become the scariest outcome of the entire finale.